The NFL Combine is in the rear view mirror. Who had the biggest performances? Whose performances are going to hurt them come draft day? And how has this made my top 40 big board shake out? We're going to break it down right now. We had some outstanding performances from the 2024 NFL Combine this past week. And there are several guys who saw a big jump in their value because of how they performed, while there were other guys that unfortunately didn't come out and look as good as we would have liked. But what does that mean for my top 40 NFL prospects for the 2024 NFL Draft? Well, there's not much of a change up at the number one position, but let's go ahead and start there with Marvin Harrison Jr. All right, so the Marv didn't participate in anything, and he didn't show up to his media time, and he's not going to do anything at his pro day. All right, he's still the number one overall player in this draft for me. The guy has insane talent. Hopefully, what we're seeing from him right now, not wanting to do anything, isn't something that we see carry over to his pro days. Caleb Williams is still the top quarterback in this draft, regardless of how the combine shook out for him. Some people still feel like he's falling. I think he's too good to fall. Malik Neighbors is going to be a game changer at the wide receiver position at the NFL level. Whoever drafts him is going to get a Jamar Chase-like player. Drake May did some combine stuff, but he decided not to throw. We'll see that at his pro day. He's still locked in firmly as the quarterback 2 for me and inside my top 5. Everybody's talking about the quarterbacks and everybody's talking about the wide receivers, but Joe Alt has the opportunity to be a true game changer on the offensive line for whoever picks him up. At number 6, we're going to roll with Jaden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU. He didn't do anything at the combine either, but he's got plenty of tape and a Heisman Trophy to back up this ranking. Dallas Turner takes over the edge 1 position on my big board, jumping several spots all the way up to number 7 after a fantastic combine. The dude can do it all. He can get after the quarterback and he can sit back and play the run. One of the most complete edge rushers in the NFL draft this year. Rome Odunze out of Washington also had a good combine. He didn't pop like some of the other guys did, but he was still really good and keeps his place inside the top 10. Quinion Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo, jumps all the way up to my CB1 position and inside the top 10. He has some amazing ability. He has the perfect cornerback build, the speed, everything you want out of a complete shutdown corner, and I would not be shocked if he's drafted inside the top 10 come April. Jared Verse rounds out my top 10. He does fall a little bit for me down to edge number 2, but I still think he's going to be a fantastic player that someone's going to spend a premium pick on. Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle, Penn State. He ended up needing to leave his combine drills early, started to cramp up a little bit, maybe a little bit of a hamstring, but he said he's going to be fine for his pro day. He's still going to be a top offensive tackle pick. Brock Bowers at number 12 is considered one of the best tight end prospects that we have seen in a long time. And while I like some of his game, I can't go as high as some of the other people because I don't think he's a true game-changing pass catcher like some of the top tight ends, Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and so on. And number 13, Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama. Didn't flash like Mitchell did, but he still did very good, and people are still very excited about this safety turned cornerback. Some people are going to clown on JJ McCarthy for some of his throws at the combine, but if you take a look at the film and you watch in depth and listen to a lot of people who are a lot smarter than us, JJ McCarthy actually looked really good this week, and he bulked up a little bit. He's going to be a top 10 pick for sure. Brian Thomas Jr. had already taken a huge leap for me all the way up to wide receiver 3 prior to the combine, but his excellent combine only reinforces that, and now he finds himself inside the top 15. Nate Wiggins had a blazing fast 40, but unfortunately also dealing with a little bit of a thigh injury, had to pull out, couldn't do anything the rest of the day. He says he'll be ready for his pro day though. Laiatu Latu, edge out of UCLA. Some of his medical stuff in the background could end up scaring away some teams, but when you take a look at the film, he is a true edge rusher that you absolutely want on your team, and you don't want your quarterback to be worrying about on the other side. Derzon Newton, defensive tackle out of Illinois. boy, he's taking a little bit of a drop for me. I once saw this guy as a potential top 15 pick, but he is coming down a little bit after some of the other defensive tackles and other position players had a really good combine. I'm still going to keep him inside the top 20 though, because he's a guy that can do it all right in the middle of the defense. Number 19, offensive lineman center, Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. One of the most complete centers that we have seen in quite some time, and is really going to make a team happy that drafts him, even if their fans don't feel like it's a sexy pick. Talise Fuaga, offensive tackle out of Oregon State, stays very steady. After the first couple of offensive tackles come off the board, a team is going to be happy to find Fuaga at a discount later in the first round. The Texas wide receivers made a huge statement at the combine this week. Adonai Mitchell was the first one to do it. He jumps all the way up inside my top 25. There are going to be some teams that may move up to try and grab him after the top wide receivers come off the board. Now I've got a couple of offensive tackles back to back. Amarius Mims and his size absolutely dominated the combine when he showed up and looked athletic as you possibly could. He doesn't have the snaps as some of the other offensive tackles in this draft, but man, some team that drafts him is going to get a raw prospect that has a ton of upside. JC Latham out of Alabama, he's dropping a little bit for me as well. While I think he is a safe prospect, he doesn't have some of the upside as the other offensive tackles that are ahead of him. Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. Now this cornerback did not get a chance to participate in the combine after a pretty big leg injury later in the season, but he should be healthy for next year, and a team that drafts him could end up getting a discount in the first round. Byron Murphy, defensive tackle out of Texas, is going to round out my top 25, a true run stopper that has the ability to get through the line. Chop Robinson, edge rusher out of Penn State. He also made some waves at the combine with a blazing fast 40. He already had a lot of other things to go with that on film, and now he had a good combine to back it up. Kool-Aid McKinstry at one point in time was considered the top cornerback in this draft. Unfortunately, some of the guys ahead of him right now are just showing a little bit more promise as being a game changer right away. Xavier Worthy may have set a new combine record in the 40, but it wasn't enough to go any higher than number 28 with him. I get it. A team is probably going to move up and try to take him in the first round, but what do we get from Xavier Worthy? Is he going to be closer to Tyreek Hill or closer to Henry Ruggs? That's what concerns me. He could fall either direction. Jalen Wright jumps up to my RB1 position, a fantastic combine. Some of the good things that we saw on tape from him popped at the combine with his speed, agility, and burst. My comp for Jalen Wright is Jahmyr Gibbs. Michael Penix goes up to number 30 for me. Quarterback out of Washington. I liked what I saw at the combine. It looks like he's been working on some things with his release and his mechanics. A team is most definitely going to be taking him in the first round now. Troy Fautanu, offensive tackle out of Washington. If you're looking for a swing guy, someone that could end up playing like right tackle or at one of the guard positions, Fautanu is going to be the perfect draft pick. Darius Robinson with a solid combine, edge rusher out of Missouri. His value and stock is rising fast as well. Peyton Wilson, linebacker out of NC State. This year's linebacker class, for the most part, is pretty underwhelming, but a lot of people out there say Peyton Wilson reminds them of Luke Kuechly, and when that happens, you've got to pay attention. T'Vondre Sweat, defensive tackle out of Texas. I liked what I saw from him at the combine. Came in as one of the heaviest combine participants of all time, but when you watch his drills, he doesn't move like it. This guy is agile and he does a lot of good things. My problem is that Sweat, for me, reminds me of more of just a run stuffer up the middle instead of like a true two-way player that can also get after the quarterback. Graham Barton, center out of Duke. I also believe that this is going to be a guy that's going to really help a team in the second round that is dealing with issues at either the guard position or the center position. Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle out of Arizona. Kind of the same thing with JC Latham. He's fallen a little bit for me, but not because he's not any good. I just see his floor as being pretty good, but not as high of a ceiling as some of the other offensive tackle prospects. Bo Nix, quarterback out of Oregon. If you were watching with me right here live on YouTube while the combine was going on, I broke down Bo Nix and his throwing drills, and I still don't like what I see. His mechanics within the pocket are not good, and because of that, I just can't go any higher with him. He could end up being being a pretty good quarterback. He could end up being a guy that maybe has a couple of decent years if given a shot. But to me, he feels more like a Gardner Minshew, a guy that's going to be a good backup quarterback that can step in and help do some things if someone goes down with an injury, but not someone that you're signing to be your long-term starter. A couple of Michigan boys back-to-back national champions, Blake Corum at running back. Listen, Blake Corum might not look like the flashiest running back in this draft, but he is absolutely going to be the best in terms of his skill set and just being an overall player. Give me Blake Corum inside the top 40. This guy is going to make a team look really smart. Roman Wilson looked good at the combine as well. He showed out at the Senior Bowl, and he's got a lot of tape from this year to back it up. Plus, he plays with an under 4.4 40. This guy can rip apart the middle of the field from the slot and then make some plays after the catch. Theo Johnson takes a jump into my top 40 tight end out of Penn State. He jumps to my tight end 2 position. If he goes to the right team, does he make a huge impact in year 1? Probably not, but in the next couple of years, definitely could be a fantastic starter. There you have it, my top 40 big board post-combine for the 2024 NFL Draft. Let me know down in the comments below. Is there somebody that's too high? Is there somebody that's too low? Is there somebody that you didn't see at all that should be on there? Let me know down below. Let's have a nice debate about it. Just make sure you bring the facts to back it up. But for now, I'm going to get out of here. Headliner Nation, stay safe and healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.